All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another Consumer Law After Dark. All right, text the word challenge to 917-993-5238 to get your challenge tickets. All right. All right, so we're back for another Consumer Law After Dark, ladies and gentlemen. And we are about to go in. 1 second, please.
Me I beg you, please let me go home early. I do it baby time. Can I sit down? Can I sit
We
down
can't
here?
do that now. What?
But me need to go home matter but me have to check out Sarah first. Me not check out Sarah. Me need to go home to take it
So
picking
we're
up her
rushing.
food. But I say now carry me down.
All right, we are back, guys, for another Consumer Law After Dark, and we are about to get it in. We are about to get it in. All right, so let's get it. Let me see. Do I have everything set up? All right. Last night we were talking about the dispute process, right? So we're gonna continue with the dispute process tonight as we get into it. So let me get my drink on. Mm-hmm. That means some sangsters. Mm. All right, so let's get into it. Last night we started the dispute process, right? And we're gonna continue tonight with the dispute process. So, what's the drink? So I'm drinking some Sangster's rum cream. So for those of you that are familiar with Bailey's, this is another version similar to Bailey's. This is the Sangster's rum cream. It's really really good, in my opinion. Way better than Bailey's. Way better. All right, so let's get into it. We're talking about the dispute process. We talked about it last night. What happens when a consumer putting agency gives you when a consumer putting agency responds verified, validated, accurate? What does that mean? When a consumer putting agency does not respond to your dispute, what can you do? What laws do you use to hold these consumer putting agencies accountable? And can you sue? The answer to all those questions is yes. You can sue and you can get a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. So let's dive into it. Let's dive into it. So let's dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. So give me 1 second. All right. So as we get into the challenge, there's just something wrong about this word. Let me see. Oh, something looks wrong about that word. Hold on. Something looks wrong about it. All right. So the dispute process, right? What is the dispute process and why is the dispute process so important? Well, if you know how to properly dispute, what's that? If you properly know how to dispute, you will always have an advantage. Why? Well, the first thing we need to think about or consider is the fact that the consumer reporting agencies and most creditors do not comply with the law. That's number one. The next thing we need to also realize is that they don't know the laws the way we know the law. That's why they hire attorney firms. So, what does that mean? It means, ladies and gentlemen, not everything that they do will be in compliance. Your job as the consumer is to find out where they are either non-compliant, reporting inaccurate information, or being negligent. That's your job. And how do you do that? You do that through the dispute process. The dispute process is the framework that you use to get that done. Is everyone following? The dispute process is what you use to achieve that goal. So, what you need to learn is you need to learn, okay, what are these consumer reporting agencies? What are the requirements and what law holds them accountable? So once you know the laws that hold them accountable, you know what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to respond. Then if you know what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to respond, when they're supposed to respond and what time frame, doesn't that give you the advantage? Hmm. Doesn't that give you the advantage? Because if you know they have 30 days to respond to you, if you know that they have to respond to you, if you know that if they don't respond to you, it's a violation and they have to delete the negative items from your credit. Well, if you know all of this, ladies and gentlemen, who has the advantage? It's a legitimate question. Who has the advantage? It's a legitimate question. Who has the advantage? It's really a legitimate question. Mm-mm-mm. Right? So let's talk about the strategy. Round one. What does your round one require? Or what is required in your round one? Well, your round one dispute should be addressing inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable, and incomplete information. Four things. Four things. Right? Four things. Four. Right? Four things. Inaccurate information, outdated information, unverifiable information, and incomplete information. Those are the four things you dispute under. The rest of the stuff, like the account is mine, all of that type of stuff, like those are okay, but I rather use the language that is put inside of the FCRA, and the FCRA tells me that I can dispute any item of information that I deem to be inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable, or incomplete. That is what the FCRA tells me. So knowing that I use the same language that the FCRA uses. Now the FCRA also gives you the playbook as to what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to dispute, what you're supposed to dispute, right? And in addition to the disputes, the other thing the FCRA tells us is what? The response time of each consumer reporting agency, right? Consumer reporting agencies have 30 days to respond to a consumer dispute. And the FCRA also tells you what you can do as a consumer. So you'll hear some lawyers tell you that you cannot sue under the FCRA. That's total bullshit. Total bullshit. The FCRA, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the FCRA gives the consumer the right to sue a consumer reporting agency. It gives the consumer the right to sue a furnisher of information. Now, when we talk about furnishers of information, we're talking about banks, credit unions, employers, collection agencies, debt buyers, anyone that furnishes information to a consumer reporting agency. The FCRA gives you the right to dispute and the right to hold them accountable. Now, when we talk about holding them accountable, there are certain laws that are put in place to give guidelines as to what they are supposed to, what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. So when we talk about, okay, so let's, for example, is the same with soft inquiries because I have like 200 or more dating from 2023, mostly from Credit Karma. Okay, soft inquiry, hard inquiry. A pull is a pull. If someone accesses your consumer report, they need permissible purpose. They cannot access, no person can access your consumer report without written permission or a court order. What does that mean? It means if an employer, um, a bank, an institution is accessing your consumer reports, guess what? They need written permission. Now, when it comes to Credit Karma, guys, if you have the Credit Karma app, you're going to see soft Credit Karma pulls on your report. So if you want to be able to sue Credit Karma, what you have to do is you have to close your Credit Karma account and send an email to the legal team letting them know that you are closing the account and you will have no further business with Credit Karma. Now, if after you send a notice and you said, hey, I do not want any, I am not going to do business with you anymore, Credit Karma. I am canceling the app. I want to cancel my account. I want to do no more business with you. And then 30 days later, or within 30 days, or whatever, you see inquiries from Credit Karma on your credit, you guys can sue. Now, what Credit Karma uses to get away and to circumvent legal is Credit Karma in their terms and agreement, they will state or have language that says you also grant us permission to pull your reports from any consumer reporting agency. That clause right there gives them the right to pull because you signed off on it. So in order to take that power away, to cut Credit Karma off from accessing your report, you have to close and cancel your Credit Karma account. That's the way to circumvent it and hold Credit Karma accountable. Now, for those of you that's just coming on and you don't know, guys, there's a 5-day challenge coming up. Right? There's a 5-day challenge coming up. And the 5-day challenge that's coming up, ladies and gentlemen, you need to be a part of it. You got to be a part of it because of all the information that you are going to be receiving, all the strategies you're going to receive, and most of you will get results during the challenge. So I'm sipping on some Sangster's rum cream, guys. It is so good. It is so good. Mm. So good, right? So let's go back now to inquiries. So there was a lawsuit the other day, right? And when we're talking about inquiries, right, we need to identify the violation clearly. And identifying the violation clearly means we're talking about unauthorized inquiry, which is punishable under, well, not really punishable yet, But the law that gives you the right to sue for unauthorized inquiry is 15 USC 1681 BC. Inquiry without permissible purpose, right? So when we talk about failure to conduct investigation, we're now talking about, let's say you dispute the accuracy of the inquiry, right? You dispute the accuracy of the inquiry, and the consumer reporting agency only comes back verified, validated, or accurate. And then you requested the description of the procedure used, but you got nothing back in the mail. What do you do? Well, this now gives you enough information to sue them for what? Unauthorized inquiry, failure to conduct a reasonable investigation, failure to respond to a notice of description of the procedure that was used, and failure to provide accurate information. These are some of the things that you're going to have inside of your case law that you're going to use and win. One second. Right? So, understanding the dispute process, ladies and gentlemen, understanding the dispute process is key for you not only to get the deletions you need, not only to hold them accountable, but for you to get a payday. The consumer reporting agencies make a lot of money from selling your information. And most of the times, when they sell your information, you are not getting any part of the check. However, inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable, and incomplete information, it's all being furnished on your credit. So, what do you do when you identify that inaccurate, outdated, unverifiable, or incomplete information is being furnished on your consumer report? What do you do? And guys, this is not a trick question. Like, I really want to see your feedback. Yep, Credit Karma has a lot of inquiries on a lot of people's credit report. So my question is, what are you going to do about it? Credit Karma has the inquiries on your credit report, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Credit Karma got the inquiries on your credit. What you finna do about it? Take them to court if it's inaccurate information. All right. Mortgage eliminator, you are correct. That is the end result. Take them to court. Now, how how do we make, or how do we put together a valid case to support a cause of action, to support a statement of claim? How do we position ourselves so that we have a strong case and we can use that case to win and get compensated? What can we do, ladies and gentlemen? What can we do? All right, 15 USC 1681 I-5, delete my account and follow your instructions. All right. So let's dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's dive into it. We're going to dive into it. The first thing you need to do is pull your credit reports. That's the first thing you need to do. Write an email based on consumer law. Not necessarily. It's not an email you will need to write. You will need to put a dispute letter together. So we need to talk about the process, right? And the process that we're going to use is the dispute process. Doing the dispute process the correct way. Well, you go to the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act and then you go CFPB violations and you use. Well, not necessarily now. Remember, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act only applies to debt collectors and debt buyers. So, what if the person is a creditor? What if the person is an auto dealership? What if the person is a bank? Right? So, the FDCPA would not apply in those cases. So this is where we need to know FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act, because the Fair Credit Reporting Act governs all persons. And what all persons mean is if an entity or a person or an individual or corporation reports information to a consumer reporting agency, they are governed by the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So if we're going to sue them, we're going to sue them under Fair Credit Reporting Act. If they are creditors, if they are bankers, if they are loan agents, mortgage brokers, if we're going to go FDCPA, we must be dealing with debt collectors, debt buyers of that nature. Now, can you for a debt collector, can you sue a debt collector using FDCPA and FCRA? The answer to that is yes. And this is why our dispute strategy is the most important part of the whole process. So, how would I dispute? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify inaccurate or incomplete information. I'm going to identify that. Once I identify inaccurate or incomplete, I'm next going to what? Dispute the validity of the information being reported. So now I'm going to trigger certain laws because once I initiate a dispute, I trigger certain laws. And now I'm going to say, okay, I am disputing the inaccurate and or outdated information being furnished on my consumer report regarding the account number 12345678910. The alleged payment that you're reporting as late was never late. And I am also requesting proof that the procedures and information required by 1666B is also present. How can you remove a 90-day car late payment? It's paid in full now. That is so easy, Royal Excellence. That is so easy. Right? So going back to the disputes process now, you want to get the negative items deleted. You want to get outdated information deleted. You want to get all of that stuff deleted. You must have to write the correct letter. So initiating a dispute activates a certain law. And when that particular law is activated, a consumer reporting agency and or a furnisher of information only has 30 days to respond. So let me ask you, how many days do the consumer reporting agency and the furnisher has to respond to your dispute? How many days? That was so good. That was so good. Doreen, how can I get out of check systems and early warning system? Okay. So if you want to get out of early warning and check systems, all you got to do is pull your consumer reports. Not 15, it's 30 days. 30 days, not 15. It is 30 days. 30. If you want to get out of check systems and early warnings, all you need to do is pull the report. Pull the report, see what is on there. If there's information on there that you don't like, then now we can talk about a dispute strategy. And a lot of your debt collection companies are not even registered to do business in the state. I also check with the secretary of each state because if they are not registered to do business in the state. All right, mortgage eliminator. Very good point. So let me explain something to you. Every state is different. Every state is different, and not all states have the same requirements. So let me give you an example. New York City requires a debt collector to be licensed and bonded, right? And they have to display their license number on the correspondence that they're sending to the consumer. Now, when you go to the state of Georgia and you go to the state of Florida, it is completely different. Why? Because not all states require the same thing. So if you're going after a debt collector, it's important to know what does your state say about debt collection and what are the what's the word I want to use? What are the qualifications, right? What are the qualifications that a debt collector must meet before they can operate in your state? So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that have not signed up for the challenge, I'm telling you, man, you guys are missing out. The 5 day challenge goes down May 11th. It starts May 11th. Guys, you cannot miss it. May 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, from the 11th to the 16th, you cannot afford to miss it. So, for those of you on Instagram that have not gotten your tickets yet, comment the word challenge. Comment the word challenge. For those of you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, all you need to do is let me get the link. Let me get the link. All right, getting the link right now. Mm-mm-mm. Friends. All right, so here's the link for the challenge, guys. So if you're on Instagram, all you got to do is just comment the word. All right, comment the word if you're on Instagram. Comment the word challenge if you're on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, I just dropped it in the chat. I literally just dropped the link in the chat. You guys can get it. I just dropped it in the chat. Give me 10 minutes. We have to leave now. All right, give me 1 second. Oh, come on. In a room clean out? No, we not clean them because I want them, you have to call that and want them board them next whole night. You understand? So they gonna go crack in the hour. Five of them. I want to get started tomorrow too, you know. Tomorrow we not buy fire by then too. See how long it on. The machine now burn gas like how usually burn with these. Notice? Because the guy fix it. I put on turbo for the ass. All right. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just write up this report. That, as I said, these sitting there. Cold, make sure cold sitting there. When I wire, he say he want make sure everything's like when I wire. All right, cool. When I lift up the shit or whatever, when I wire jump on, when you say he can't fix, he say he might come down upon him tomorrow. All right, cool. Thanks. So the captain, I will try to get me there. Mm-hmm. So, while I moisturize that, what the name, man, you work on next more running some more water, you have to go faster. I hope on that tomorrow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just dealing with some accounting real quick. So what I was explaining to you now is the dispute process is the most important part. So if you want deletion, it falls back on your dispute process. If you want to sue, it falls back on your dispute process. Like it doesn't matter which way you're going to go, it still falls back on your dispute process. So if it falls back on your dispute process, what does that tell you about your dispute process? It tells you that the dispute process is really important. So, in closing tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not gotten your ticket for the 5 day challenge, if you're on Instagram, just comment the word challenge. If you're on Instagram, just comment the word challenge. If you're on YouTube, I just dropped the link inside of the chat. Guys, the dispute process is so much easier than you think. It is so easy. The dispute process is super easy. So I'm going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be on tomorrow again. I want us to talk more about the dispute process because the dispute process, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that will be the difference between you being frustrated and not getting paid, the difference of you getting a deletion, the difference of you getting paid. The dispute process is the most important part of repairing your credit. And this is what I'm going to be placing a lot more emphasis on about the dispute process, talking about the dispute process, going over the dispute process. What do you need to do in order to maximize your disputes the right way and get paid? All right. So that's it from me tonight. All the links are dropped. The live also will be optimized. So I will be talking to you guys tomorrow. See you later, alligators. Let's go.